Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop. Grind don't stop.
Hello, welcome back to Chewgum. We have Josie on today, and I see everyone in the chat is so excited, as you should be. So happy you're here. I think it's been, we've only ever, I think, co-hosted the show together one other time, and it's been, yeah, you were in Texas. We were talking about this before.
Yeah, exactly. It's when Mama Josie made an appearance behind me at one point.
Yeah!
So that was nice. Yeah.
Mama Josie. I'm so happy that you're here with us. This is going to be really fun.
Yeah.
Today is Tuesday, June 3rd, and I don't know, what's new? Josie, what's going on? How are things?
Pride.
Yeah, we were talking about
a lot of
pride.
pride.
A lot of pride.
A lot of pride. I always say it's pride, and it almost sounds like a sigh because I work in equality work, and it's just so much I have to do, and it's just nonstop. It's like everybody wants to do interviews with me. It's like, oh my gosh, it's pride. Call Josie. Let's ask for a report. All the things. So yeah. But it's been good. It's been really, really good so far. It's just been busy. Really busy.
It's your busy season. This is like literally, I feel like for anyone who works in, like you said, equality work or isn't like very big figures in the queer community, the entire month of June feels like it is like
it's booked.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of like, people who work in seasonal work for Christmas. It's like the rush.
Yes.
It's like it's December. It's like, yes, it's June. It's like, as a professionally trans person, like it's just like
This is literally your Christmas season. This is Black Friday for an entire month.
Yeah, for an entire month. It's nonstop, and everybody's banging down the doors. It's in a good way and bad way at the same time, so you don't know. It's like, who is at the door?
Right. Exactly. Oh my God. Well, I mean, blessed to be busy. That's good news. And hopefully it'll be a really happy, fun Pride Month for everyone, and all your projects will be fun, and all your interviews will be easy, and that's just what we're gonna hope for.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, the world isn't burning down as we speak. It's a time,
and it's a long month, and we just never know. Every day feels like it's 6 days rolled into one, and the opportunity for it to just, it just, one can never be sure. Literally, when we got onto the show, you guys, I was like, I'm a bad vibe right now. I think I need to like take a lap, but it's just, I'm like, every time I open my phone, I'm like, and the horrors persist. This is unbelievable. It's just always something. And so we just have to laugh about it. We have to make jokes. Otherwise, we're not going to get through this day. For anyone who is new here, we talk about purity culture things. We talk about women's rights things. We talk about all kinds of things. Josie is, as she said, professionally trans, which is like the funniest way to phrase that. So we can have lots of really fun conversations today. You can call us at 720-619-2288. And as a reminder, super chats of $5 or more will be read at the end of the show. And for a second, I forgot that this is not The Line Has a Podcast. And I was thinking about what we were going to do for the bonus show. And I was like, oh, that's not this. We don't have to do bonus show for this one.
But the line
today.
does have a podcast. That's what
the
I
line
hear.
does indeed have a podcast. I grabbed my fancy mug today, which
besides I'm not a cool kid. I didn't get invited to the line has a podcast situation. So
okay. Listen, do you want to do it? Because we record
always.
We record twice a week, and now Jimmy and I specifically are so ingrained in each other's lives that sometimes because we're talking to each other so much now, sometimes we're doing the show and I legitimately forget that we're recording something and we're just like yapping. And then I'm like, I actually didn't think that this was a conversation I would ever have on the internet publicly ever, but here we are. So there are comfort levels that come. Yeah.
It's great.
We have chemistry. A good time.
You do have a good time. So I don't want to mess up the vibe. And honestly, it's a good time.
You see the vibe I'm bringing to the table, Josie. You could never mess up the vibe. You could only make it so much better. That's crazy. So we have some lines open, but we do have some calls that came in. So I don't know. Do you have call in studio? Like, are you looking at the calls?
Yeah, I do. I'm watching it. I'm looking at it.
Okay. Do you have any preference of which one we take first?
Honestly, I don't have a preference. I'll let you drive and figure out what you think would be the best starting call to come in here.
Okay, let's take.
They literally called at the same time almost. No, never mind.
Yeah, there's like a 10-minute difference. So
yeah,
we'll take Sarah because she called in first, and we'll pull her in now. Hi, Sarah. You are live.
Hello.
How are you?
I am good. How are you guys? I did wake up with a tension headache this morning, but it has since gone away, so that's good.
Oh, I'm so glad. Also, is this Sarah of Sarah Talks podcast?
It is.
Hey, girl. She's in our chat all the time. She is
great.
Like, we love Sarah. So I'm so glad you called. I also this morning had a headache, and I don't know if it's like allergies or like a hormonal thing. That's definitely why I don't even feel grumpy. I just feel cynical today. But I'm trying to spin it into something funny. So we're just gonna all go with the bit. But Sarah, what did you want to talk about today?
Yeah, so I recently got into gaming because my soon-to-be boyfriend this Friday, which I won't get into, but I can rant about him all day, every day. But he got me into gaming, and when I told my dad, he was like, "Oh, but that's kind of a guy thing. You can't be into that. Like, you don't really want to do that." And I was like, "No, but I do." So I just wanted to, like, talk about, like, gender stereotypes and, like, how I don't think it's fair that I can't enjoy things I want to enjoy just because it's quote unquote a guy thing. So.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. The story of my life for the first 34 years of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's really interesting that there is still this conversation about girl things and boy things, and it's really interesting. It's like gaming of all things. It's like I don't want to age your dad, but it's like it's not what it used to be. Like, what game are you playing, Sarah? I just got to know. That's what I wanted to know when you said you're gaming.
I've been playing The Last of Us lately.
Okay.
And I make fun of Alyssa for this, but I've kind of abandoned Crash Bandicoot, but I want to get back into Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
fine,
what
Sarah.
I've been playing right now.
Yeah. Last of Us. I haven't played the game, but I am a big fan of the show, and it's pretty queer. Anyways, it really is. But yes, like it's as a host on the Transatlantic Call-In show often, the question of gender and stereotypes, it comes up often, and usually a lot of times stereotypes of like, oh, you can't do this is usually weaponized against people. And it's like really frustrating because like somebody tries to do something, it's like gatekeeping. In the game, like in the gaming world, it's like, oh, girls can't play because it's our boy space and it needs to stay safe and you can't let other people in it. And that's where a lot of that like comes from in a lot of ways. But it really is interesting because I think it brings up a bigger conversation about the social construction of gender and how the girl thing, boy thing is very ever changing and evolving. Like you can even go back with the color pink and all of that type of stuff. It's a really interesting concept to be like still living in the dichotomy of this is for girls, this is for boys, and everything else needs to stay away. And also the question I asked to you is and maybe this is a question maybe for your dad more, but the question is, what does it mean for your dad when he says that to you? Like, how does that make you feel, and what your experience is with him with those type of gatekeepy type of stereotypical gender role things?
That is a deep question, Josie, and that's why I'm excited to talk to you, because you ask the deep questions, and I'm like, that is a really great question that I don't have an answer to. But no, that is a great question, and he's not normally like that. I think he just so he's a baby boomer, and that generation is, they have flawed mindsets, to put it respectfully, sometimes. So I think he just thinks that, because from what he sees, that it's all guys and like, oh, I'm going to turn violent, because I'm playing a video game. But, that's not the case. I just enjoy having that time to like decompress, and if I like it, I don't see what the big deal is, like. That's
for
my
sure.
take.
I think another interesting part of when we assign interests to gender, or really assigning anything to specific genders, it's also interesting to think about how those things have evolved over time. Like, there was a period of time where men were wearing what we would call dresses and skirts and heels and makeup and doing their hair to a degree. Yeah, like wigs, like doing their hair to a degree where we don't do that, or the like stereotype of men now are not traditionally doing that. And so there were periods of time where that was the norm, that was the style, and then over time that evolved. So all of these things they have historically, and they will change and shift. And a lot of the things that girls, when they're young, are given as toys are also meant to kind of like condition them into behaviors that they might want to emulate in the future. It's like you give a little girl a baby doll and it helps them, envision maybe like having a child in the future. And like little girls get those little play kitchens and stuff, and boys get like toy dinosaurs or whatever. Like, it's some of it is also a little bit of conditioning, whether we realize it or not. Like, that ultimately is what it does. But now we've seen that really shift, where parents are having a better understanding, especially I think like the millennial generation and beyond are having a better understanding of like, this actually is not how it has to be. And anyone can, as long as you're not hurting anyone, and it is, and I say this about sex all the time, if it's fun for everyone, it's consensual for everyone involved, then like it does not matter. It literally doesn't matter. And also, Sarah, you're a full grown adult. Like, this is not going to be playing The Last of Us is not going to be the switch that turns you into like a gun-slanging murderer. Like, this is not going to be the moment of that happening for you, I imagine.
Yeah, I like, honestly, like, I don't want to get into that, but like, I don't even trust myself, even holding a gun. So like, I'm not gonna all of a sudden be like this mass murderer just because I'm playing The Last of Us. Like, no, I like the story. That's why I'm playing it.
Yeah, you're more likely to just release a spore into society that cause an apocalyptic situation situation.
Exactly.
Just be accurate.
If we're really trying to hone in there, and as you were saying that you don't trust yourself, all I'm thinking of is like when I was a kid, my nickname from my parents was Spillerella because I would just spill and drop everything, like trip on things. I also don't trust myself with something like that. It just wouldn't go well for anyone involved. But that's not what we're dealing with here. And I think it's also like Josie's question is a really great way to elevate what that conversation is from your dad, especially if that's not normally a conversation that he would be having, to be like, that's so interesting that you say that. Like, what does this mean to you that you feel like we need to now have a conversation about like what my role as a woman is it playing video games? Like, that's just so interesting. Curiosity instead of judgment, and see where it leads you, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you gave me that advice. Oh, sorry, Josie.
No, please. No, continue. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I remember, I think it was the first time that I called, and that was the same advice Alyssa gave me was, come from a place of curiosity rather than judgment. And that actually really stuck with me. And I've been trying to do that when I engage with Trump supporters now, too. So the advice you're giving, Alyssa, is sticking. I just want you to know that.
Yeah, girl. Oh, so happy.
Yeah, it's interesting to investigate claims that people make, and it's you figure out what people are thinking, and then you could be like, you do know that there are literal games that are marketed only to girls, right? Like there are so many. It's like, are those for boys too? Now what do we do, right? Oh no, boys are playing video games that are geared to girls. What does that mean?
What do we do now? Yeah. That's so funny.
For sure.
I love this question and I love this conversation. I feel like conversations about gender stereotypes and what people are wanting to engage in now is always evolving, and I'm happy that it's a conversation that people are wanting to have in such like an open way. It's nice.
Yeah, it is nice because things have shifted a lot over the decades of time, where there were so many, like having a credit card was a boy thing. Right, owning labor was a boy thing by law, and it's really interesting, and like and that, and to me, and like if you want to go really philosophical and historic with it, they created those things to keep women out of polite society, in a sense of trying to say, oh, women can't do these things, they're regulated to these spaces and they have these things. And if you want to take it even further back, it was what colonialism and pan-Europeanism was the thing that basically pushed gender roles and gender stereotypes across the world, because they saw people who were not European, / white as genderless mongoloids, I used to say for people. It's like, because there wasn't like the strict gender roles, even though there was like understanding of like gender in those cultures, it wasn't as rigid as pan-Europeanism made it. So that had a lot to do with, not only was it a situation where people were able to live their truths as their gender, it was, you have to live this as the truth of gender. It wasn't there was no part of it. So those vestiges of control around what women and men can do and what people were forced to do is what we are dealing with now, with the remnants of, with like the simple comment from your father, which may not have been malicious in any way, but it comes from a historical place of like, wait, girls aren't supposed to have those things, because it was so normalized for women to not be able to do things at all when it comes to what men were doing. And so I think that's where a lot of it like comes from. But again, we can go into deep philosophical historical context of where the gender construction became so rigid.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a good conversation for TACIS.
Yeah.
For sure. But I learned recently that women couldn't take out a business loan in their own name until 1988.
Oh, wow.
1988. And women also were not required to be used in medical research as part of like the sample group. They were not required until 1993. There's so many like crazy I was born in 1993. Like I am as old as and I'm so young. I am as old as that law is. And that's crazy. So I mean everything's going to evolve and change, and honestly, like you wanting to engage in something that that is or was seen as traditionally like a male dominated activity is you kind of taking part in dissolving what that is, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I needed to hear that.
Gamer girls are going to exist. Gamer girls are going to exist. That is out of the that genie's out of that bottle. Like
oh, I love the gamer girls who go on Twitch and like make so much money. Like I know a few of them who just they go on Twitch, they play their games, they look really cute, they make all of this money. It's just what a beautiful way to bring in an income to like, I just love it. A gamer girl
good at it.
is
they're pros.
And they're good.
I am manifesting that for myself.
Yes.
I'm manifesting that for you too. I remember when like Twitch streaming started to become a thing too. I was working in an advertising agency and I was so confused about because I don't like play games like I'm not super the only game I play is really The Sims. So like I don't really watch other people playing games. Like I never watched it on YouTube, so it just wasn't my thing. And so I asked the guy, like whatever representative at Twitch, I was like, just explain to me like what's the goal? Like what's the purpose? If I can play the game, like what's the purpose of watching somebody else? And he said it's the same reason why people will watch the NBA, because you can go outside and play basketball with a hoop if you want to, but it's a completely different experience to see people who are like pros and amazing at it. And so I love that perspective, and I'll never think of gaming culture in the same way, because I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. And I think like there's something to be said for how like the competitive structure and the skill that's involved in gaming, like there's so much there, and now you get to like have a little piece of it, which is awesome.
Yeah, like I don't stream on Twitch. I stream on YouTube actually, and I just hit 84 subscribers, so I'm on my way to 100.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's amazing.
I keep being so bad at games, and I'm like, how is this even entertaining? But it is apparently, because I get people coming in my streams and they're helping me play the games and stuff. It's a great community. Just like the line, is a great community too.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Well, congratulations. Keep it up. You know, it's about personality. Like, you know, people are entertained.
Sure.
People just want to watch you do it. And they're really watching you do it. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Like you're the main attraction, right? If you're not like an expert at a game, like they're not there for the gameplay, they're there to enjoy the experience of you experiencing the game, you know? Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sarah, for calling. I loved this little chat, and you'll have to let us know if you have any other conversations with your dad about all of this.
Yes, I will. And thanks for letting me yap about gender stuff for however long it was.
It's great.
Literally anytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We'll talk to you soon, Sarah. See you in the chat.
Yeah.
All right.
See you. Bye.
Okay. Off to such a giggly start. Love it.
Yeah, that's good. It's a nice vibe.
I loved it.
It's good.
I know we love Sarah. As a reminder, we we have some shows that I will read, and also make sure that you go to patreon.com/calltheline to help support this show and the other shows on our channel. And recently I did the podcast and I said patreon.com/theline like several times. I've done this show. I've done The Line as a podcast. Do you know how many times I've said patreon.com/calltheline? And for some reason I did the most recent episode and I said /the line, and Jimmy had to make like a video and be like, that's not right. It's /calltheline. And I was like, I don't know how I did that. Honestly, kind of amazing. Shocked.
No, Jimmy loved correcting you. No, you made him happy.
No, Josie, you're so right. Maybe I subconsciously did it because I was like, Jimmy needs this today. He
needs a little treat. He's a little treat.
A little. He loves it. Yeah. So tomorrow we have the hang up with Matt Dillahunty, and I don't know if anyone else. I see just Matt on there for now. And Thursday, TACIS with Arden and Luxander. And then Sunday, we have the Sunday show, which I don't think we have someone down yet. But whoever it is, it'll be great. And I think that's all we have going on this week. We also did a poll, and I would like to know who the 2% that says they will call in and explain why women should believe in God. Always so brave in the poll. Always so brave in the Instagram comments. Never call.
Never call.
It's our version of always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Always a commenter, never a caller.
Yeah, exactly. You need to break the trend. Prove Alyssa wrong by calling in. Like you can start by being right at the beginning and say, Alyssa, you're wrong, I'm calling. And then you start on a good foot. Like you start with a win right off the bat.
Here. Yeah. You're up here. Yeah. You can that's great. You've gained so much ground. And you know, you're right. That also I like a moment where we're challenging them to say, and they never call. And and sometimes it works. I don't know. But if those people are in the chat, please call in. We would love to talk to you.
Yeah, or you don't, and then we're just right all the time, and there's nothing that can stop us. So
yeah, exactly. So, and that's their choice. Okay, so let's pull in our next caller. We have Joe. We love talking to Joe, and Joe wants to talk about loneliness stuff, which I feel like this is a conversation that I've been having so much recently. So. Joe, are you there?
And I have some thoughts too, so I'm excited for this.
Okay.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah. Excuse me. Right. So this is somewhat of first, because Sarah mentioned video games. Fun fact about like the gendering of video games. Back when the NES came out, and Nintendo, because toys are toys, they were gendered and there was boys and girls aisles, and so Nintendo had to make a decision on whether to put the NES on the boys aisle or the girls aisle, and they basically did like market research, and it was about 50-50. So they essentially flipped a coin to decide which gender would get video games. And we're basing all these like gender roles based off a thing that was essentially a coin.
Out of here.
I've heard of that. I have heard of that. Yes. Yeah.
What?
Marketing. It's always down to marketing. Marketing is the true villain in this story.
Yeah.
This is the YouTube black hole that I'm going to go on because of this. Joe, I'll never recover. That is amazing information.
It was a Adam Ruins Everything episode where I found that out. They were talking about boys, I think, in general. And they also go into a lot of genders, how video games are gendered and all that. It was actually really quite interesting.
Dinosaurs.
Anyway. Sorry.
Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So, with the male loneliness. So, I first started calling and talking about this subject, and Alyssa and Promise and I had great conversations about this. But I was listening 2 weeks ago, I think it was, Alyssa, and you were complaining about how the focus is on male loneliness and not all gender loneliness. And I just immediately wanted to go, that is such a mood. Like, honestly. Like, why? Like, I understand why, but why is it only when it affects men that we actually start to care about a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that's true.
Like, I know why, but it's also like, yeah. Anyway, Josie, I'm interested in your thoughts about this.
Yeah, no, so I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't know if I was just grumpy that day when I was taking my take my dog on a walk, and I was just like, I was just stewing on this loneliness thing, and I was I sit in a unique position where I was actually socialized and grew up as a male person, like, right, like I thought, I've always been a girl, but I've always had to I've lived for up to 34 years before I was like honest with myself about what was going on. And I there was something in my mind that was very interesting about it, which was young men, because of biology in a lot of ways, are incredibly horny. And it's like, and I'm speaking from this from a personal place where one of the things which is incredibly aggravating, especially when you have testosterone raging through your body, is like you can't concentrate on anything. In fact, when I started my transition, one of the best feelings I had was like, oh, I'm not thinking about this all the time. So that was something that was that, but that's another story. But one thing that I was thinking about a lot is when I was growing up, I was in the military. I was also, I also, it was still the dawn of everybody having a cell phone in their pockets. Smartphones were barely a thing. I didn't start texting until I was like 23 years old. And so for me, what I feel about this topic and how it gets so much attention is we are dealing with a time in our humanity where these young horny boys have a phone and they're screaming to the world, I can't get laid and girls hate me. It's like, that's because you're young and inexperienced and don't have the worldly understanding of how to interact with women in a way that helps you get connected with them and be, I guess, what is it, like in relationships or even hookups or any of all that type of stuff. I remember when I was growing up, there was pickup artist books. There were all types of things. There were people scamming people about, oh, you just need to treat a woman like garbage and she's just gonna love you at the bar. And like there was that time. Oh yeah, right. They existed back then too. And so for me, what I see a lot of this is like, I want to know what the result is going to be 5 years from now. All of these like little incel like young men who are just like, I want to get laid and I don't know how. I want to see what happens to them in 10 years. And when they kind of like, and I'm going to be really, I'm going to say it, when they grow up, when they leave boyhood and enter manhood and actually go and be members of society where they like don't have to focus so much on that and they get careers and jobs and things like that. I feel like when they get older, we will be talking about the 20-year-olds at that time 10 years from now, and then 20 years later we'll talk about the 20-year-olds at that time. And it's just like I don't know if it's just like an innate young man thing, and I don't know. It's something I've been thinking about.
I think it's more than that, because I think it's now, like, it's not just men in their it is men in their 20s, but I think it's also extended further past that, because now women don't need men to buy a house, get a credit card, get the business loan. And we also have a generation of women who are focusing on their careers and freezing their eggs or deciding they don't want to have kids at all. So the timeline has completely shifted. And so now there are men who are in their 30s and even 40s who are like, none of these girls want to date me. Like, they don't want to. And this is like a conversation. This is a conversation I have with a lot of my coaching clients now, where they're just having a hard time getting women to want to be on dates, or they a lot of them are really nervous about approaching women in public. They feel like, I don't want them to feel cornered. I don't want them to feel like prey. Like it's, and I always tell them in that circumstance, if you're in that conversation in your head, the likelihood of you making a woman feel unsafe feels pretty low to me, because you're aware enough that like you don't want to create that for them. So you're probably more perceptive to like getting the no and walking away, because you're already like on edge a little bit about it. But I think a big part of it is women have been really good at making community outside of their partner. Like we've made community inside of work, outside of work, our neighbors, at our gyms. Like we have been sort of like given the stereotype of being yappers, but in reality, like that creates community. It creates connection. Connection is created through vulnerability, which is another thing that men have a really, really hard time with traditionally. Like it's not a trait that really masculine people embrace very well, because vulnerability is perceived as weakness. And in reality, there is literally no courageous act that you can do that isn't tremendously vulnerable. Even if you think about it on like, there was an example in a Brene Brown book where she was going to speak to veterans, and she was like, these people like put their life on the line. They don't want to hear me talk about like vulnerability. Like they could give a crap. But when she went into that room, she asked all of the veterans in that room, can you think of one moment of courage that you've experienced that didn't require a tremendous amount of vulnerability? And not a single person put up their hand. And so vulnerability is a huge thing that is not part of the culture of masculinity. That is a really big piece that's missing. And so that's part of it. I think men are not really encouraged to have friendships in the same way that women do. Like there was a trend going around of men calling their other male friends to just say goodnight to them. And it's like the funniest, it's so cute and so funny. But like, if I called one of my girlfriends and I was like, hey, I was just thinking about you, I just wanted to say goodnight, I'm heading to bed, they'd be like, oh my God, what? If someone did that to me, I'd be like, I love you so. Do you want to, should we get coffee tomorrow? Like that would make my day. But for a lot of men, that would be really uncomfortable, because they've been socialized to believe that that's not appropriate and not what they should be doing. So there's like so much there that could be fixed and improved. I mean, fixed is like sort of an icky word, but like that could be expanded upon for like what's available for men in relationships, but they have to want it. Like we can, the annoying part to me is like, why is it our responsibility to fix? Because at the end of the day, like all of the things that I'm describing that I think would be tremendously beneficial for men to get out of like the loneliness that they're feeling has to come from them. I can't force them to find community. I can't force them to like become more accepting of vulnerability. Like no one can force people to do that. And then it's not right to then ask the women in their life to, again, be a therapist, be a parent, be whatever they need to push them across the line. It's like, no, women figured it out. Women found ways to find like, networks of babysitters, and think of the amount of moms who have a carpool plan for their kids, where each one of them is going to drive a different day. Like we figure it out. Like we find community in whatever way makes most sense for us, and we figure it out because it's part of what we do culturally. Like it's a part of what we're encouraged to do. And I think really the job that men have is to look at the way that women structure our friendships with each other and community with each other, and look at the pieces of it, ask questions, and figure out how can we create this? Like, how can we create some piece of this? Because the truth of it is, for the men who are feeling loneliness in terms of relationships, many times what will find you a relationship is by being a part of a community. Like find a bowling league. like find interests so that then when you go on a date and they ask you, what do you do for fun? You're like, I'm in a bowling league and I paint pottery every Thursday and I like whatever. Fill up your life with friends and community and activities so that your life feels so full that when you find people to help, bring more to it in relationship, you have like so many great things to talk about. I don't know. Anyway, I could talk about this all day. And I do, because this is like a conversation I feel like I'm in on Chewed Gum and on the podcast a lot. And it's obviously like a really important one. So I'll step off my soapbox now. But anywho, those are my thoughts.
Joe, did you want to add anything? Go ahead.
I want to apologize for laughing a little bit into that, and that was only because I think the last time we had this conversation, Alicia, you brought up the Brene Brown quote, and so I was laughing because once again you're bringing up this quote, and I found that a little bit funny. And yes, absolutely agree. It's on men to do it, and also it's just more effective for other men to help other men develop this vulnerability and creating community, because as sad as it is to say, a lot of men that are feeling this loneliness don't listen to women. And so like we're in this situation where the men are blaming the women for these problems, but also refuse to listen to the women's solutions to them. Which I find particularly frustrating. It's like, I think men are the best people to solve this problem. And we just need to. I don't want to put like too much, like, because you're right, women shouldn't have to be putting in the effort, but having people be like rewarded, like having the people who do the work get those connections and get the results that they want is the most likely thing that is going to get them to keep doing that and to encourage other men to do that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of it too is, and I agree with everything Alyssa said. And one of the things that I would also say too is a lot of the things that you were saying, Alyssa, comes with a lot of emotional maturity and growth and understanding about, okay, where do people that like things that I like to do hang out? And being able to ask those questions, I think, is really important. I think that it was interesting. I was actually at a DNC fundraiser for the LGBTQIA plus community, and the chair of the DNC was there, and the first question that came up, it was so interesting. It was a queer fundraiser with a lot of big donors in the room, and the first question came up was a man talking about male loneliness epidemic, and was
insane.
Like, it's wild, and was like, we're losing young men and we need to do better to speak to them, and we have women, and there was basically comparing the fact that Democrats have done a very good job messaging to women and using that as a negative because they've done too good of a job and have kicked men out because men don't feel like they belong anymore. And it was a very interesting thing, and I was getting a little frustrated because he just went on and on and on about this. And it was frustrating to me because it's like, is it really the male loneliness epidemic, or is it the fact that we are just not meeting people where they are and actually having these conversations? And I think that's what you were saying, Joe, about men having to do these conversations and understanding, because we are at a point where the media has convinced a lot of these young, impressionable people that they should be entitled to the world that grandpa had, where it's like, oh, he went to work and he had his wife there, and it's like, but did you know that grandma didn't have a credit card and she had no choice but to live in the house? And like there's like all of these different things that are kind of meshed with itself. And I think I want to ask you a question, Alyssa, if you don't mind. Do you think it's part of the human experience that this is a situation that is just compounded over time with the advancement of social media? Because I grew up in conservative Texas, and most men that were older than me were emotionally closed off, would only hang out with the bros every now and then. They would sit on the couch after work, and then they would just sit and expect a meal from their wife, and then they would go to bed just to do it again tomorrow. And so for me, it's like, is that just an amplification of the way it was before? Or do you think that there needs to be almost like, I don't want to use evolutionary shift, but a social shift in the way that men perceive themselves in this way?
I think there has to be like an evolutionary shift, because we depended, it's almost like it's not a male loneliness epidemic, it's a male loss of value epidemic. I think that men are having a hard time understanding what their value is now, because their value used to be very much contingent on, like, I'm going to, like, if you think even as far back as like, I'm going to hunt and provide food, and then it was, I'm going to be the person who's going to go to work so that I can pay for a mortgage, and because of that, when I get home, I'm sitting my ass on the couch, and that is my value. That is what we do in exchange. And so I don't think that they were required to consider where else they can be valuable. And for so long in these conversations, it's been like, well, what do you bring to the table for women? Where like men were asking, and I remember this like maybe like 10-ish years ago, this was a big thing. Well, what do you bring to the table that I'm supposed to be working so hard and blah, blah, blah. And now having a single income household is almost impossible in this country. And like pretty much unheard of. So men and women are working really hard. Women are outpacing men in education. They're outpacing men in a lot of other professional fields as well. And so now the value that they held and the way that men viewed themselves as providers and as like the dominant voice in a household is completely shifting. And so it's like a male identity crisis is what it is. And I think so much of what it means to be a person is too tied up for many men in, well, I'm a guy, and so I can base a lot of my personality around like this prototype of a guy and what I can like and what I don't like. And I think that there's something comforting about it's like when you give someone too many options and you're like, no. Give me 3 and I'll choose. For men, it was like they have the 3 options of like, okay, what are the defining things in my, like, these are the things that are male coded and that's what I'll take. And then the 3 other things I'll choose from, and those are the ones I'll take with one of the 2 or whatever. And now we've like completely removed the confines around that, and men can really decide to be whoever they want to be. But that also means they get to like find, which is exciting, like they get to find their value in a new way. So I think it's an evolutionary shift in what a man gets to be, which is, in my opinion, really exciting. But I think that's like where this panic is coming from. It's like, what do you mean that I have to like be vulnerable? And what do you mean I have to like, you know, be more open with my partner and in a way that like they are feeling more seen and more heard, and vice versa. Like there's so much fear around vulnerability, and it creates this like really unfortunate barrier between who they're presenting themselves as being and who, like, the potential, like, the possibilities of who they get to be. I don't know.
That makes a lot of sense. I think another aspect is that, so what used to happen in, like, I'm going to say 1950s. It's probably like happened like later than that. The men still had this lack of emotional maturity, but they were also getting like lots of benefit from being the man of the house. And what's happened is we've taken, and like rightfully so, taken away the benefit. And so now on like the pros and cons list, the benefits that they used to be getting are no longer counteracting the disadvantages of the lack of emotional maturity. So now they've got more cons and not as many pros. And I think that's another aspect to be considered, as well as, yes, having to redefine what a man is.
Yeah. You know, I saw this, so one of my siblings, you know, he just got married and it's incredible. I'm so happy for him. But I remember him being very like recluse, closed off. Now, I don't want to say that because I don't want to be mean, but he was very like, you know, gaming, doing all that type of stuff. And he had like, and he also had fairly conservative views as well. And I was just like, where is this all coming from? And then he found his wife, and she's great. You know, she grooms dogs. She doesn't want to have kids, like all of the things. And I've literally saw him like shift his entire like perspective on life because he wanted to have this wonderful relationship that he has with his wife. And you know, he, in that 8 years of time that he has, you know, of growth as an adult, has really shifted a lot inside of him, that it's like, I think that's where I'm just like, you know, I wonder what time's gonna bring, because I feel like where are we gonna like, what is it going to be with the 22-year-old, you know, 24-year-old person, and what are they going to be when they're 30? And I know that's very like zeitgeisty, and it's kind of like, will a lot of these, and I don't want to say solve themselves, but I feel like some of this is probably going to solve itself, because people are just going to be like, wow, you're still thinking that, or you're still doing that. Like, people kind of evolve and they grow. And that's why I think I asked the question about the evolutionary thing. Would that necessitate a change? Like, when things break, will it repair in a way that will be more inclusive? Because I think that as women, I feel that we are trying our best to be like, be patient and be like, hey, it's okay. Like, you know, like, we go to therapy, all that type of stuff. Like, you don't have to pay for the bill, or you don't have to work all this time. I can put in the hours too. Why don't you take a mental health day while I go work? Right? Like, all of those type of things. I think what the value in that is eventually going to bleed through to the men community, and be like, oh, this is actually not bad. Like, it's like how millennials were finally understood that the get a job and buy a house at 25 was all a lie. And like in 2008, and everything was breaking because millennials were like, where the fuck is my pension? Like, I thought this was supposed to be like retirement, get a house, like do all the things. Like, I went to school, got the degree, you know, I got the certificate, I got the t-shirt, I got everything. And now everything that I've been taught is a lie. And there was a tumultuous period for about 5-6 years while millennials finally got their feet on the ground, and we're like, okay, this is the new normal, we're moving forward. And I don't know if it's one of those moments in our humanity, in America, where this generation of people are like, wait, like, I can't just be manly and get a really nice life with a woman that I like. Like, it's like, no, you can't just be manly and get those things. You actually have to be a societal member. And I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. Maybe that's what the problem is.
My concern is before we even get there, they're going to end up in like an alt-right pipeline. And like that is too, it's like too
but
terrifying.
then they're not going to be attractive. They're not going to be attractive.
Right. Then they're like totally out of the running.
Yeah, exactly. And then that is going to be, they're going to have to make a choice. Do I believe these nonsense conservative values, or do I get a woman of value in my life? Right. Like, it's like that is going to have to be a conversation that a lot of people are going to have with themselves. And it's not a pretty situation. And maybe I'm cynical. Maybe I'm a little bit more cynical than I think I am, right? Where it's like, sorry, MAGA bro, like you don't get the girl. It's not your high school fantasy freaking, movie where the quarterback gets the girl. Like, actually the quarterback's a massive dick and is completely racist. Like, it's like, I don't like that person, right? And it doesn't matter how good he can throw footballs, right? It's like, we as I think a lot of society are finding value in different things, and I think men have to get on board or get left behind. And maybe I'm being cynical. Maybe I'm being horribly cynical.
No, I think you're right. I think you're totally right. And like a lot of this is one of the like opinions I have in this whole conversation that gets me the most in trouble is that, unfortunately, as much as I would like to say it's not our responsibility, I don't think the approach can be fuck the men, they'll figure it out, and like
it can't be
like
we can't say that in conversation, but there is a point where somebody is just like, oh my gosh, that person is just not dateable, right? Where it's just like, it's like there are people in my life and circle that I'm just like, I could never date that person in 100 years. And it's like, of course that's my choice, but I'm not the only one saying that, right? And it's like, you have to have that self-introspection and that vulnerability you were talking about, where another man needs to be like, hey bro, you know why you're not getting people to be with you more than a Tinder date? Like, do you know why that is? It's because you don't respect women enough. And I had conversations with, my guy friends like that back when I was in the military. I was like, you kind of treat women like shit. And that's why you are always looking for a girl and don't have anybody with you. And they're like, what? And then I like explained it to them like, oh my God, you're so right. Maybe I should be a little bit more respectful. And then they have a girlfriend, and then they're happy, and then everything's great. And it's just like,
and I hope they're sending you a fruit basket, because that was all you.
I know. I was like, you're being a complete asshole, and it's your fault that women are not attracted to you. And it's like, men have to take ownership of that.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility that gets to go around in that conversation. And like, when I am having clients come to me with conversations like this, like, again, like, I think this is where we even started this whole conversation. I can't control what other people are doing. No one can control what the other person is doing. You can't control if the women are going to reach out to you or want to go on it. The only thing you can do is take responsibility for your own actions and see where you can shift. Like, see what blind spot someone might be able to show you, like the way, Josie, you were doing this for people that you knew, and be like, you have a blind spot, you're being fucking weird, or you're being disrespectful, or whatever it is. And be open to feedback, be open to what might feel like criticism but is meant to be helpful to you. And that's really all that you can do. You can't force women to just want to accept shitty behavior. It's just not going to happen. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So you have the strategy on their behalf has to shift. And when it comes to like loneliness as a whole, join a fucking club. Join a club, join a rec, join a rec sport.
It's true.
It's just respectfully not my fucking problem. It's not our problem as women to solve that. Like, take your brain cells, rub them together, find literally anything to do in your neighborhood, and you will find companionship friendship, like you will find it. You're not. Part of me is like, are you looking? Like, are you looking? Just maybe that.
Anyways,
that'll be the next merch. Join a fucking club.
Join a fucking club.
Like, they exist.
Sorry, Joe.
Join them.
Sorry, Joe, that we just took over the call because we were just.
I know we really.
No, I love the conversation. Also, the join a fucking club t-shirt works on 2 levels because, like, 1, deals with male loneliness, and 2, like, a lot of the calls, especially lately, are talking about how much it sucks being skeptic or being left in the current climate. And often the reaction is, yeah, we're in the same, the hosts are in the same boat, so join a club. So double level meaning.
Join the fucking club. I love it.
And and I think it's another thing. I just want to add this too. It's like I'm friends with a lot of women, and they're not having any trouble finding men. Like it's just like and that's another thing. It's like that's why I think time is going to tell a lot, because I find women, they're in relationships, they're having a good time, they're doing it all, and then I just keep hearing it over and over about men not having women. I'm like, all my friends that are straight, that are girls, are fine. Like they're fine, and they're finding really great guys. It's just like.
Yeah, I know. It's really a challenging, shocking social dynamic, and it'll just, I don't know, it's going to continue to evolve. Let's just see how it goes. Join a fucking club. Find a bowling league.
Club.
Yeah,
it'll either get worse
I don't know.
or get better.
Yeah,
that's sad but true. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, worst case scenario, you go join a club and you have like a medium time, you go home and you don't do it again. Okay. At least you tried. Yeah. You did something new that day. You have a good story to tell your other friends, or like, I don't know, if you're close with a family member, you like whatever, give yourself new life experiences. Like, go to Six Flags by yourself. Who gives a shit? Like, just do stuff. Like,
don't just make it about sex all the time.
Yeah, get out there. Like, find things to do. Get a hobby.
Yeah. I know.
Well, thank you, Joe, for calling and giving us this really great topic to chat about. We have a couple of other callers, so I want to see what other conversations we're going to have today. But we appreciate you calling always, and I'm sure we'll get to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Actually, lovely conversation as always. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, Joe. Ooh, what am I doing? Here we go. Okay. I loved that chat. I love when Joe calls.
Yeah.
For a while, anytime I would tell anyone to like find a hobby, essentially, for some reason, I kept saying, go to a pottery class. Why? Like, I don't know there's so many things that you can do that's not a pottery class, and the fact that I could not think of anything else. I've since moved on from that little, like, brain fart where, like, that was the only thing I could think of, but.
Pottery is sensual, right? You're touching the clay, you're putting your hands in it, right? Like,
getting a little dirty.
Learn how to touch things. Yeah, learn how to touch something softly, practice.
Wait, you've added new meaning to this. I'm back on pottery. Everyone go to a pottery class.
Yeah, go to a pottery class. Learn how to touch something nice. Don't be rough.
Dance class is another one.
Crush it.
You'll crush it. Dance class is another one too that people Arcana in the chat just recommended, but yeah.
Dance class is actually a brilliant place.
Yes, it's such a great place. You learn how to move your body, you learn how to like there's also like a kind of like conversational vibe to it when you're doing a dance class that's like partnered in any way.
Yeah, that
like
has a lead or follow. Like any dance has a leader follow. It's like speed dating. It's like you just go around, but don't make it just about dating. Learn the dance, have fun, and then if someone vibes, like, hey, you want to grab coffee? It's like, yeah, they just dance with you. Like, why would they? They have more likelihood to say yes to that coffee date than the guy that literally, when I was trying to get on the metro and I had like bags in my hands, like, oh my god, you're so cute. Can I take you to coffee? I'm like, I'm literally trying to get on the train and I am busy. Like, meet me at a dance class, and then maybe.
Right. It's the context. It's the context of it. It's like, I don't need like a mouth breather in like 3 inches from my face while my hands are full of bags and I'm trying to get onto a train. When you're in a dance class and we've had a really good time and I can tell that you're not a scary person in some way, in like some general sense, then let's go get a coffee. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds great. Sounds like a good time.
Sounds great.
Yeah. But that requires touching grass, Alyssa. That is too much.
They don't want to touch the grass. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to breathe it through their nose, mouth breathing only. It's just something's going on.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you have a preference of the calls that are in the queue right now?
Let's go. I think we'll just go in the order that they're in.
Okay, cool. Let's pull in Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Oh, hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Oh, great.
Awesome. So, what did you want to talk about today?
I wanted to talk about.
Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about women in the Bible, specifically Virgin Mary.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What about her?
Now, I believe it could possibly be true because I believe she may have been an intersex, one of the true type.
Oh,
that's an interesting.
That's an interesting.
That's an interesting take. I want to know why you think that.
Well, I'm an intersex, and I've been doing research on myself, and I guess it turns out there's 9 documented cases of true intersex given birth, and all 9 of them were baby boys.
Whoa! But
is there?
I guess
there's evidence of self-pregnancy. I don't think that's
not self-pregnancy, but there's evidence that there was 9 intersexed individuals, true intersex, that got pregnant and then gave birth, and the firstborn child was a boy.
But my question to you, though, is it still took 2 to tango for all of those 9 cases.
Exactly.
So still a virgin.
So not a virgin. Because it took 2 to tango,
they weren't virgins,
right?
But I don't think a doctor ever thought about...
What's the connection? Why do you think that's the, like, Mary would be intersex? Like, what's the reason for her specifically being intersex? Like, because versus her just being a cis woman and actually having sex and not being a virgin, because that makes no sense.
I mean, I guess it's possible she could have had sex and didn't tell anybody, but if she was truly a virgin...
Most likely story, right? there has been no documented evidence of an immaculate conception outside of the Bible saying it's so.
Exactly, except for a true intersex could potentially get themselves pregnant if it went undiscovered.
I don't...
Wait, how?
If that's
Explain.
possible.
Because they have both ovaries, a uterus, and testicles.
But I'm wondering, I admittedly don't know like enough about this on like especially on a biological level to know if that's possible. But I even wonder like physically how you would do that.
Well,
like I
would
don't
assume
know.
that maybe she was an intersex. Maybe she had like a sperm tube inside of her that popped and then leaked into her uterus.
I guess there is a very rare situation where it could happen.
That's so interesting.
I don't know enough about this. I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't know. However, I have a question for you, Ashley, because it says here you are an atheist. If we were to prove that was the case, would you then believe in a god?
No, I wouldn't believe in a god. Maybe a goddess, but not a god.
I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to do like a cursory research. I just don't have enough time to figure it out.
There was a case that was recent in China with a man. Well, I guess they were calling him a woman or a man. I don't know. They prefer to be a man, I guess. But they found ovaries inside of him. I guess he was peeing out blood. And they found the uterus.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, I guess if there's not a 0% chance that this is possible, then, I mean, yeah, maybe, I guess. We wouldn't really be able to prove it one way or another, and I wonder what that would do to people of faith and the house of cards that they've built.
Well, the thing is, it's like, even if that was the case, like religious people in the Bible, they still very believe in like the dichotomy of male and female with nothing in between. So the idea that, there was that, and then you would also have to ask the question about what was Joseph doing then? Like, if that was the case, like what is, like, his wife is an intersex person with two, full reproductive systems. And so it's like, it's a very interesting idea to muse on. But I do think it's interesting. But I will say this to you, Ashley. I will say this, like the Bible is, in Christianity, is not the only Immaculate Conception story. There's a lot of different Immaculate Conception stories throughout history that have, to produce some form of God claim or religious claim as well. So the idea of was there even a Mary, was like, there's like so many different things that are part of this ball of wax, that for us to be able to even have the ability to inspect the reproductive systems of Mary would already be such a huge situation of like burden of proof that we would be able to find if that was the case. But we can't even find records of Jesus himself in a lot of cases. So it's kind of like, it's an interesting thought experiment, though. I think it is a good way to trigger the theist. Be like, sure, okay, Virgin Mary, she was an intersex person that gave birth to herself. Birth, not to herself, but gave birth herself from herself. And then I'm just like, what was she doing? What was she doing to make that possible?
That crazy girl. I also wonder, in like a genetic pool way, like if you have similar risks of like genetic mutation because it's coming from like hypothetically the same, like the sperm and the egg are coming from the same gene pools. Like, I wonder if that would be a problem. I don't know.
There's a lot of complications that can happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably be like a bigger problem.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of bigger problems with it. I think Jesus having 10 fingers, 10 toes feels like it could be hit or miss in this hypothetical. I don't know. But
this
I also don't
very interesting. So Ashley, what you said you're intersex yourself, so like what made you think that this could be the reason? Like, are you bringing this question up as like kind of like in a serious conversation, or are you thinking like this is just a fun thing to talk about? I'm just curious.
Well, it's just a fun thing because I think that I might be one of those types with like ovaries and uterus, because I have actually a functioning hormone cycle.
Oh, wow.
That works just like a woman's menstrual cycle. Like, I get menstrual pain, I get bleeding, I get ovulation. Like today, I just ovulated.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
I love this
Like
because at some point in your day, something in your brain was like, and what if she's just like me? And I love that.
I do
You were
love
like,
that.
and what if?
And what if?
We can't prove you right or wrong. And I love this hypothetical. I would love to see if you could actually bring this conversation to a theist, what they would say. I think you would make their brain explode for like many reasons because you would have a lot to explain and convince, and boy, would that make for a great show, Ashley.
Yeah, it would. That would be interesting.
I think you turn their worlds upside down. I like this hypothetical. Maybe we'll start next time we have a theist call. Maybe we'll be like, we actually have had this conversation before. What if Mary was intersex? Because it's not impossible, and who knows?
It's a very interesting. I would love to see what they do next from that point of view. It's like, which direction do they go? Do they go anti-intersex, or do they just roll with it and be like, okay, yeah, sure, that's that. So you believe that the Virgin Mary existed because of this one thing,
right? Oh my God. It would be really entertaining. Ashley, do you have theists in your life that would be open to having a conversation about this hypothetical?
No, but I tried to get my brother to call in because he's like anti-abortion, but he won't call in.
Damn.
Oh, darn. You should definitely call in. It's just fear. It's okay. Tell him Tell him that we understand that he's afraid to challenge his point of view.
Yeah,
I just used logic flip on him. Like when he's like, well, it's 95% a woman's fault. I'm like, well, it's 95% your fault. You're the one that could have stopped it by keeping your penis in your pants.
That's right. That's also that is like the craziest, and I'm sure you know this, like laziest explanation ever. I think if he called in, he'd have a really rough night. So I don't know, maybe it would not be worth it for him.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But no, thank you, Ashley. I really appreciate it. The call.
Yeah, this has been really fun. I was going to say this was really fun and really interesting. And I'm going to be thinking about this all night long. I think there's some Virgin Mary statue somewhere in my parents' house. And I'm just going to be looking at her like, and what if she was interesting? I'm going to be noodling on this for days now. I love it.
Oh my gosh, I do love it.
Thank you,
Ashley, for that perspective.
This was very cool. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show tonight.
Yeah. Anytime. Have a good night, Ashley.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. That's so interesting.
That is interesting.
I love a good hypothetical like that. I mean,
it's just there was a TikTok I think I was watching where this guy is like, he lives in a conservative area, so he like agrees with conservatives in really fucked up ways. So like, for example, this guy was like, man, this abortion stuff is terrible, huh? And he's like, yeah, that's why I support the gays. And the guy's like, what? And he's just like, I support the gays because if gay people don't have abortions that often, so therefore I support the gays. If you support not having abortions, the guy like blow up their brains.
God, it's like, that's so funny and so like, if I were I need to see that. I have to see that because that's hilarious. And you're right. It's exactly like the conversation with Ashley. You would turn the whole thing on its head, and then I think you would just have them like stammering, and then what is called spontaneous combust, and that would be
yes, it's just a
conservative confetti. Yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. We have
somebody said it's Cliff
call.
Cash is the person apparently on TikTok. So somebody on the chat knew. Yes. So look up Cliff Cash.
I'm going to look up Cliff Cash. Amazing. Yeah. So we have one more call in our, in our queue, and then we'll do our super chat. So if you haven't gotten your super chat in for the night, make sure you do that now. And we will pull in Robert, calling from Massachusetts. Hello, Robert.
Hey, Alyssa. Hey, Josie. How's it going?
Going well.
It's going. How are you?
I'm all right. Actually, I'm very glad I tuned in today, because I actually have a bit of a knot in my stomach regarding the younger generation.
Perfect.
Don't we all? Tell us more.
Let's just round out that conversation. Let's go.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if how many people are aware, but it is statistically shown that Generation Z men are becoming more and more religious, especially since the pandemic. And meanwhile, Gen Z women are becoming more liberal, atheistic, and unaffiliated with religion. And so basically, I'm like, okay, so the Project 2025 brainwashing has successfully taken a chunk of the Gen Z male population and is bringing them more towards the right. Jesus, how fucked are we?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's. I'm actually looking at the numbers. I want to see how much it is. Give me a second, Alyssa, if you want to go ahead and start. Yeah.
It's tough because it's like, as we've been talking about the whole conversation around trying to figure out how we get men and women to sort of like be on similar pages so that people can be in relationship with each other, and male loneliness and like all of that stuff. A lot of it is there's not as much common ground that we're finding because of gender politics and the difference in ideologies and all this kind of stuff. And this is going to make it so much worse. And it's concerning, but I think it's the same reason why like I was saying before, I worry about leaving men sort of like to their own devices with everything that's been going on, because they're going to, human beings, regardless of gender, I think are going to find the community that's going to lift them up and make them feel powerful and make them feel important in the easiest, least painful way. And I think these church communities are kind of doing that because they are patriarchal. They favor the men in family dynamics. They favor traditional family, like nuclear families. So I think that they're sort of like saying everything that this like disenfranchised group of men want to hear, versus maybe a community of people who are trying to push them towards like, hey, let's actually take the road less traveled. Let's do a little harder work, but it's worth it. Like, let's figure out how we can work through some of the emotional stuff that we're getting to, that's coming to a head around like what masculinity means and what your value is as a man in the world and in your household. And like, that's so much harder and so much more nuanced than being like, or I just go to a church where they tell me that I'm important because I'm a man and I offer value because I'm a man. And, you know, that's what I think it is. But I don't know. So, I don't know what to do.
So what's interesting about it is, as I had to dig into data, because when I hear data, I'm like, oh, let me see what the data says. So basically what I'm seeing here is obviously boomers. What's interesting about the gender parity with boomers and Gen Xers is that more women were religious than men were. And what we're seeing in the Generation Z is that it's actually starting to flip the other direction. But even when I'm looking here, it still is only it still says that let's see. It says that only 8% of Gen Z women identify as white evangelicals compared to 13% of Gen Z men. And 6% of Gen Z women say they're Black Protestant compared to 8% of Gen Z men. It's still, and even if you go with the Public Religion Research Institute, 39% of Gen Z women identify as religiously unaffiliated compared to 31% of Gen Z men. So I think that even though there may be more Gen Z men comparatively to the generations of like millennials, I still think that the attendance rate of religion overall is still going down. And it's an interesting thing to like kind of like play that out. So if we're starting to get more parity of like, okay, there's like 1-to-1 women, so it's like maybe there's a few more men than there are women, or like let's say with that one statistic of 8% white evangelical compared to 13%, that's still pretty close to parity, in my opinion, even though it is 5%. 5% means a lot, but if you were to have 100 people, it would be, let's see, there would be 13 Generation Z men that are evangelicals and 8 that would be women that are evangelical, and it looks like they would just meet up and then they'll just be happy in their copacetic little worlds, and then there will be a few guys that are going to not have a few of those women if they're all in relationships at that point. So I it's hard for me to see the trend as scary. But it does align very deeply with politics, though. If you're going to church, you're more likely to vote Republican, and that's another problem. But I don't know, Robert, what are your thoughts about some of that stuff?
Well, first of all, once again, you show me how absolutely amazing you are with data points and numbers, Josie. Like, absolutely amazing, as always.
Thank you.
I mean, you kept my head on my shoulders during election night, even though it all just turned out to be copium. I'm still glad that you were the professional, you were the optimist, like, you gave the insight, and I'm like, once again, you did it for me again, like just now.
Aww.
Even though I'm sitting here losing my friggin' mind over like, okay, Gen Z men, like young kids are becoming more conservative. It's like we're fucked. Trump is like successfully like brainwashing everybody. We're all screwed. Like, just keep me off this planet.
Yeah.
But like, and again, so it's like, so this is where I think Alyssa is perfectly valid, where she says men should not be left by their own devices, because me as a male should not be left alone with my own thoughts. And but no, but again, getting back to the topic here, is I do think that I am hoping that this is kind of like, as you guys have mentioned earlier, that like, this is more of like an evolutionary kind of thing that is transpiring here, where it seems like even though there's a disparity between the genders, again, like it seems like that, young men are, becoming more conservative, while young women are becoming more liberal. Perhaps like, again, even if it is just, happy, dopey, like, like opium or whatever, it's like, I like to think that, hey, maybe young men are beginning to realize that there's more than one way to define their value. There's more than one way to define masculinity, or basically, what makes a man and what makes a woman. And it seems like that maybe this is just the death throw of what traditional masculinity and feminism, or femininity. I don't know the word. I know feminism as a movement. Anyways, basically, you get my point. I'm saying, like, maybe we're kind of like on the throes of what the traditional, like, definitions are, and maybe, I mean, if not Gen Z, then hopefully Gen Alpha will basically kind of like really kind of help, I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but kind of like, take us on that new, how do I say without sounding wooey? It's like take us on like the new plane of awareness or
I hope so, but the Gen Alpha to me, I feel like I should write a book about it, but I think Gen Alpha is going to be the generation AI, and I am super worried about that. I'm so worried about that because think about it, like Gen Alpha people are going to be only remembering when AI exists, right? Like they're not like that's something like I think about a lot as well. Not to bring it down, but no, I do agree with you that when we look at trends and we look at how things are going, it is quite scary. I will say this though, and here is that hopium from that election night type situation. The Gen Z generation still didn't vote. And like as far as like overall as a generation, like they did sway enough, but it wasn't enough like to really think about like it's okay, I'm gonna sound real cynical. I mean, I'm very cynical this show today.
I think I created this energy and I apologize.
No, it's fine. You don't have to take blame for my cynicism, okay? This happened with many years and years and years of study. So yes. So essentially the way when I was studying in college, back in forever ago and studying political science, I had this I called it's like a college student theory. I haven't done any data or research to find this, but I've always said there's something called a generational lag. And this generational lag is the idea that every generation has a problem communicating with the generation that is after it. And, you know, boomers didn't know how to talk to Gen Xers. Gen Xers don't know how to talk to millennials. Millennials don't know how to really talk to Gen Zers that well. It's a little bit better, but not great. And then Gen Zers don't know how to really talk to Gen Alpha right now either. So this generational lag creates a problem in political action. So if the generation like millennials, for example, who are, you know, going into their 40s, mid 40s in that period of time, and then, you know, late mid 30s, we have a problem telling the Gen Zers that you need to vote a certain way because the world is literally burning down, and we've seen it for 15 years or 20 years at this point, and we're trying to explain to Gen Zers like, no, you can't vote that way because if you do, it's just going to add more to the problems that I already saw. But young people, and it's generational lag, don't understand what we're trying to say. When we say, oh, XYZ is happening, the Gen Zer is like, I haven't seen that happen. Like, you got to think about the fact that there were Gen Zers that voted in this last election that didn't even remember because they were too young when 2016 election happened, when the videos were coming out about grab them by the pussy, all of the videos and everything that came out with that, they didn't even remember that existed. So for us, like, the Trump administration in 2016 was very real, very visceral, and we saw the Muslim ban, we saw all of those things. So when we were trying to tell Gen Zers, hey, like, look, this is a problem and this is what we saw, the Gen Zers generational lag didn't have the ability to understand what we were trying to say, so therefore they didn't vote. They didn't see the value in voting at a high level. And yes, it's almost like clockwork. Every generation that comes into voting, it's always low voter turnout. It's almost like gravity at this point in political science. It's like people under the age of 24 just don't vote. Don't waste your time politicking to them because they're never going to talk to you, which feeds into the problem, right? It's like, oh, don't talk to the young people because they won't vote for you, so therefore we won't campaign to you, so therefore you definitely won't vote for me, is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways. But there are so many candidates that I know personally and I've seen and throughout my career that were like, I'm going to run a Gen Z campaign, or I'm going to run a very young millennial based campaign. And what do we get? One Maxwell Frost, right? It's one. We get one. That's all we get, because he's the only one that's a Gen Zer in Congress. And because the likelihood of Gen Z actually shifting an election is so low that political professionals won't even waste their time. And I think it's a problem. But there's only a limited amount of resources. So if you're trying to get votes as fast as you can, you're going to go to the people who always vote, because that's the best bang for your buck, rather than having to spend $25 on one voter to get them to vote because they're young. You only have to spend $5 a voter for somebody who votes all the time. So it becomes a math problem, because that's all campaigns are. They're math. And so you have to make the decision as a campaign professional on who your target audience is going to be. So I know I really just went way off the bend here on the conversation initially about rigidosity in younger men rising. Again, it's all about the math and the numbers, and seeing how those little changes in social construction and ideas and all of that type of stuff can affect who's the president at this time. Now, I do think that Generation Z is going to be laid with the burden of getting Trump elected. And I think it's going to be kind of unfair to them, because it's also the older generations not speaking to the younger generation correctly. So we bear just as much as the burden as Gen Z, but I think people are going to hold Gen Z to a very harsh light because they made this decision. And but they still voted overwhelmingly Democrat. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, and let's be perfectly truthful here. The Democrats were not at all inspiring this time around.
They still aren't. They still aren't.
They still aren't. They don't get it. And again, I'm gonna always, unfortunately, because we live in reality, I'll vote for the lesser of two evils, but they need to step the fuck up.
They need to step down and just let other people take over. Like, you know, that's where we are. And, you know, the Democrats are doing a victory lap right now because Elon Musk happened to speak against Trump's bill. And like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I agree with Elon Musk. It's like, you are the problem. Like, you know, it's like now you're going to be like, oh, look at the infighting. Ha ha ha. It's like, do something about it. Just don't point and laugh. Like, it's really, I'm having to write a report at work right now about what we do about the Democrats, and it's driving me bonkers.
I couldn't envy you less. That sounds like my nightmare, actually.
It is.
And I trust you so much with it. I would die.
Maybe we should just let Gen Alpha make Ghost in the Shell real.
I mean, do they have any choice? I think AI is going to control them to do whatever that we need, because there's no critical thinking left. I mean, now I'm getting into doomsday stuff, but honestly, I hope that Gen Alpha understands and looks at the other generations and being like, I don't want to be glued to the phone like all these other folks. I have a Gen Alpha niece, and she is 13, or she's about to be 13, and she does this thing where she I would be like, well, you know, I'm gonna send this to you, and she's like, well, I'm not really on my phone that much. I'm like, what? She's like, I try not to be on my phone that much. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, it's kind of annoying. I'd rather go be with my friends and do cheerleading practice and actually do all that type of stuff. So she gave me a lot of hope. I'm like, oh my God, you're definitely my niece, and I love you so much. And she is been very, very clear about the fact, and she was telling me, because she has a little sister who's 8, and so she is just, I talked to her, I'm like, you see how she's on YouTube all the time? And she's like, yeah, I know, it sucks. And I'm like, and then she told me, she was like, but I was on YouTube all the time, and I realized how much it sucked, and I stopped. And I'm like, interesting. So it's like, I don't know if that's going to happen to everybody, but it was something that I got a little bit happy about, and I was like, ooh, maybe. So we always need to have hope in the youngest generation. We always got to. If we don't hope, then we're screwed.
Well, you say that well, Gen Z was stuck to the phone. Maybe Gen Alpha will become the phone with their cyborg body.
Yeah, damn it. That's so true. That's so true.
also doesn't want to deal with the phones, and go out with their friends because they want to jetpack themselves there with their fucking built-in, updated, spleens or whatever.
Their updated spleens.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're flying around with their spleens.
Yeah, well, I think Amy Poehler said something. It was pretty profound. It was really short. She said, "The boomers say, it's all about the money. Gen X says you need to get the money, and millennials say, where is the money?" And the Xers say, "What is money?" And then I think the alphas, my thought is, who needs money? That's my hope.
Ooh.
I hope that they're just like, who needs money? And they just figure out a way to deal with the hellscape that all of the generational wealth has caused, and they just figure it out. But that's a huge burden to put on the Gen Alpha generation, but that's kind of the lot we left them as everything is deteriorating around us. So I don't know. We'll see. But this was a very interesting conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. That was super interesting.
Yes. So, yes, I will definitely let you guys get to your super chats while I prepare my brain for whatever experimentation is going to be done in 20 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta power up. We gotta power up those batteries, Robert. We gotta power those batteries with our bodies.
Yeah,
just linking arms, and we're just all powering one battery that lets the supercomputer rule the world.
Awesome.
I hope I'm standing next to somebody cool.
All right, talk to you.
Oh my god. Thank you, Robert, for the wonderful conversation. A little alarm bells ringing for me in the cyborg realm. But this was super interesting, and I'm so glad you called. So I hope you call back again soon.
I will soon. Don't worry.
Awesome.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
We'll talk to you then. Bye, Robert. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
We had such great calls today, guys.
Yeah. It was so good.
That was awesome. Okay, should we get into our super chats? Let's see what we got today.
Let's see. Let's go. I'm excited. I saw some of them come in. I saw Team Josie coming through. I don't know if you know on TACIS we do a competition between hashtag Team Josie and then the other host, whoever it is, and it's and then whoever loses has to defend a ridiculous position, and it gets pretty heated. It gets pretty heated. I think
hilarious.
It's great. Yeah, you should incorporate it because it gets people jazzed up, and it makes a little friendly competition.
I love that idea. That's so fun. I'm realizing now I watch a lot of the line in the clips that are shared. I'll watch a whole 20-minute call, but I rarely watch the whole a whole episode. So I don't know if I've ever seen TACIS super chats before.
Oh my gosh, you should. It's fun. It's fun time.
So crazy. Low-key, the super chats are kind of that's where you get to see so much of the personality of the people in chat. And so, yeah. And it's nice sometimes when I do see people in the super chats that are, or even on the Patreon for The Line Has a Podcast, when I see people from our chat in there, I'm like, oh, my friends! And it's so exciting to see them in other places.
It is exciting. The Line community is the best community.
Literally the best. I love it. Yeah. I love everyone in it. Everyone is so lovely and fun. And I like that. I don't know. It's nice to see the same names pop up. And there are times where I've been dating someone and they know who it is. Or when I got a new boyfriend, it was we discussed it. It's there's I don't know. It's a weird parasocial thing in a way that I love.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I totally agree. 100%.
All right. Okay, I will kick off our super chats. $5 from Zurith Moonpaw Brents. Protect all women, not just cis women. Give trans rights, or get trans wrong. Trans wrongs.
Yeah.
I feel my brain did not read that right, but yes. Thank you, Zurith.
And they're always in the TACIS chat. So super great.
Yeah. We love Zareth.
Yeah. £5 from Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. Pride Month gaming recommendation, Tavern Talk, a queer inclusive fantasy visual novel about making drinks for heroes in exchange for stories. Ooh, I love that.
Ooh.
That sounds great. That sounds awesome.
Sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Love it. $5 from Cursed Chaos, Brents. Oh, I guess these are all of the Brents have now put Brents in their thing, which is really
interesting.
Funny. Pride Month. If I were to make a relevant to the time of year book, my brain is not reading right. It would be the anthology Queering Anarchism. # Team Josie. Thank you for the book rack. Thank you.
Yeah. 1,000 ARSs from Olivia B. Just my eventual 1K shit SC. # Team Josie. I don't know if it's a thing still. Love you guys. Always a thing. There's always a time for Team Josies.
Love it. Always time for Team Josie. I'll take it. £5 from Jessica. Do McBuckface. What is going on? Nothing to say. Okay. Nothing to say, just sending love and support.
I got the inside. Go ahead. Read it, and then I'll tell you why that is. I know the inside story on this. Yeah.
Okay.
So
nothing to say, just sending love and support. # love you soon. # Espion sucks. # happy Pride Month. # Forrest for president.
See, this is what happened. Jessica decided to go after Arden in the last TACIS show. And it was hating on Pokemon that Arden likes. So then Arden decided to edit Jessica's name to be Doo-Doo McButtface, but you can't change it for a whole week. I know, you can't change it for a whole week, and Arden didn't know that. So that's why. That's why we have that name
hilarious.
Right
now. Oh my god, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Arden.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
$5 from Zurith Moonpaw Prince. If an intersex person identifies a non-binary, are they cis? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because non-binary, are they cis? I don't know.
That's a really, I think that just depends on the non-binary person. I guess a non-binary person could say, you know what, I'm cis non-binary. So that's a thing, I'm sure. There you go.
I think they get to make their own rule at that point. They could be whatever they choose. $9.99 from Daniel. Josie is infectiously positive and a great addition to any show. Thanks for the show, ladies. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
That's so nice. And she is. This has been like a very giggly show.
Yeah, it's been good. I'm sure you hear my dog in the background, maybe not. But there she is, $5 from the Raven 200. Chewed gum on the line is straight fire. Alyssa, skibbity vibes, and Josie bussin' for real energy. Got me vibing. For real, no cap. Fire, 100%. I don't know if FR is for real. I'm just using my millennial brain the best I can. Okay.
I'm also millennial. If it's not for real, and now we're behind on what FR is, I almost don't want to know. Keep me out of it. As far as I'm concerned, FR is for real. And sometimes I think I don't need to be updated on. That is so funny. $5 from Melatonin Ale. Y'all just helped me do 1 hour on my under the desk elliptical. So thank you. I usually can't sit still for this long. # Team Josie. Oh, that's awesome.
Yay. Thank you. $5 from Do. I was changing what card I use to donate to the Humane Society. I checked for dogs there. There was one named Promise. Love y'all. Miss her. Yeah. That's a cutie.
That's cute. $5 from Monkey a Typewriter. So cringe when people in the chat have to call the show. JK, but by the way, because Monkey calls. He's called a bunch of times, so that's funny. By the way, why do hummingbirds hum? Because none of them know how to whistle. Hashtag Espeon sucks. Wait, what is Espeon sucks? Do you know what that is?
Espeon is a Pokemon that Arden likes.
Oh, that's the Pokemon.
So now that is the Pokemon that now it's becoming essentially Jimmy Go Fuck Yourself. But now it's like
the evolution.
Yeah. It's the evolution, but it actually makes Arden mad, I think. But maybe not. I don't think it does, but she thinks she does. But I mean, ask Jessica, all right?
Yeah. Doo-doo butt something? Doo-doo poop head
doo-doo
something?
butt face. Yeah, exactly.
So good.
£5 from the Fuzzy Logic. Any idea about how we can convince the younger generations of the value of joining a union? Together we bargain, divided we beg. Whew. Wow, that is... If you find the answer to that question, go and tell every union you know. It really is it's an organizing thing. We have to tell people that there is a better way than just working for slave wages. But because everything's being gutted, it's really hard. But union membership is up. Okay. It is going up.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
$5 from RC Desheen. I hope I'm saying that right. Robert from MA. Oh, Robert. Thanks for the call. Gen Alpha Cybernetic with LED teeth. Hashtag Team Copium.
Oh, God. We are so close to Cyberpunk.
To Cyberpunk?
Think about it. Copium's like hope. Like for me, giving copium on the election night.
Copium. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So.
It's amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. This was so awesome. This was like, you're such a breath of fresh air always, and I honestly really needed it today. So I'm really glad you came on today.
I appreciate it. There's another nightmare scenario that I was thinking about. I was watching it. I think I don't know how I got on TikTok. More likely, I haven't been on TikTok in a long time, but I think I'm getting caught up on some cool things. Like, so you know how boomer generations or people older would be like, you're bringing home a date and you're just like, oh my God, like, why are you dating that person? This is a nightmare fuel for you. What if when we are old, we're telling those kids to not be dating robots? It's like, I will not recognize your robot boyfriend. I won't. No. And then I become a robot bigot because I don't believe robots deserve rights. And then it goes full fucking circle because I don't want to accept my granddaughter dating a fucking robot, okay?
And then there's going to be social movements about this. It's going to be, and there's going to be a generation of my later generations of my offspring that are like, as long as it's safe and consensual, and it's going to be just a mess.
Are we going to be bigots? Are we going to be bigots against the robot people? Bigots?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Where we're just like, you don't deserve the date.
Yeah, it's our right as the elderly generation to pick one thing to be victims on. We're millennials. We had the avocado toast shit thrown in our face for so long. No, you can't date a robot. Sorry.
Sorry. Not in my household.
Not in my house. We have avocado toast here anytime we want because you don't date robots here. You think that can coexist? No.
No.
Get out.
Oh my God.
There's gonna be like support groups about being disowned from your family because you wanted to bring your robot girlfriend home. I can't take it.
Yeah, you can't take it. This is the circle that we're going toward right now. We're gonna be robot folks.
Oh my God. Insane. $5 from the Raven 200. let's see how Arden reacts to this. Clears throat. I have no opinion one way or the other on SVL. Neither do I. You know, live and let live. It's fine.
Except for robots, they don't live.
Except for robots.
Yeah, no, they could go. Sorry, not gonna let live. That's it.
We've given a lot of grace to the incels today, to the disenfranchised men. Give us a fucking break.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Let us have our robot phobia, okay? Oh gosh, another super chat. $5 from Kaidi Moore. So would a cyborg just become trans robotic? Also, we need to start the hashtag. Josie explains to us. Stop it! I'm not explaining anything.
I love it. Listen, I don't know about Pokemon. There's a new generation of the Jimmy Go Fuck Yourself. There's a lot happening here.
There's a lot happening. There's a lot. All right. Well, it's so good to have a show with you. As a $20 donut, another $20 super chat comes in. They're doing this now just so they think we're almost done, and they just keep on pulling us back.
Yeah, keep pulling us back.
Yeah.
$20 from One-Eyed Heathen. Well, I had a super productive day researching degree programs and fields of study and choosing a basic career path as I make huge fucking life decisions. I have to knock over a full glass of tea. Mazel tov. Well, sounds like a productive day. And listen, it happens. Just get a little towel, mop it up, and move on. You'll be fine. Don't worry.
You can't cry over spilt tea.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. 5 pounds from Jessica Doodoo McBuckface. I changed my name on YouTube in defiance of Arden calling me Doodoo McBuckface. I forgot there's a 30-day cooldown, but I'm gonna keep it for a laugh. Oh, so that's what happened.
Amazing. Okay.
All right.
Love it. I love that Jessica did it for the bit, and now she's stuck with it for 30 days.
It's for 30 days. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. And there is another $5. And they're doing it to us.
Now they're doing it on purpose.
They're doing it on purpose.
I have to change my tampon and get a heating pad. Leave me alone. No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. I love you guys, and this is so nice. $5 from Melatonin LA. Totally not doing this to keep y'all going. Take my money. Love y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much, LA. We love you. Much.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Josie,
thank you, everyone.
Back literally anytime, all the time. And I hope that we get to do another show again soon.
Yeah, me too. It's been too long. It's been like 6 months.
I know. Literally. I know.
It has.
But this was such a fun show, and I'm so grateful.
It was. Yeah. All right,
ride us out into the sunset of Morgan.
Yes, and here we go.
Thank you, crew, mods, screeners, all of our patrons. Where's our grind? Don't stop. Our grind has stopped.
Yeah, our grind has stopped. Yeah.
Usually our music is going grind will stop.
That's true. And Brent, $10 show. You can end the show, just enjoy to watch Alyssa and Josie's production. Okay. And Armageddon is the production. Armageddon's been doing a great job. Armageddon.
Yes. And he's awesome. We love him. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you all in the next one.
Oh, there it is. Now we get the jam out. Yeah, the grind's not stopping. We can't stop it.
Yeah. Patreon.com/call the line.